and welcome to this special episode of the 12th Man. We've got Mikhail Kennedy, former Charlton and Derry City player, and absolutely delighted to have you on, Mikhail. One of the reasons I started the show was to hear local people, just even fans coming on. As you've seen, coaches as well have come on. Now we've got our first former player on, so absolutely delighted to have you with us, Mikhail.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Obviously, we're having a big chat. You've obviously been in the news recently. For a lot of reasons. One of them being mental health. You're a former footballer. Everyone sort of associates glamour with being a footballer. Obviously, there's ups and downs in every career. We're going to be discussing a lot of it over the next hour or so. But I want to take you right back to the start, because we've obviously heard a lot about the mental health over the last few weeks. And what I wanted to do was make it a wee bit different for you and maybe just look at some of the highs as well as the lows. So early life, Mikhail, obviously me and you are in the same age. I think you might be a year older, but I would have obviously grown up, would have heard a lot about you. Everyone talked about Mikhail, how good you were as a footballer. Obviously you never know, you never think, oh my God, he's going to be professional. But I suppose when you're younger, everybody wants to be a footballer at school. I remember being outside shouting players' names, I was hitting a shot. You can probably relate that a lot. In schools, break time, lunch time. Every time there was a careers day, it was always about being a footballer. I mind in St. Jude's actually Pascal Bodkin coming on to talk to us. And I was like, I want to be a footballer, even if it's just for Derry. But obviously, I don't know what the stats are, but I mind me to ask to me. It's probably 1 in every 100,000. Obviously, we've got a bit of talent around the city. Coaches, players. But I'm trying to think back. I can't mind too many going over to England and sort of being, you were on the news quite a lot. I mind at the time I was going to uni and stuff, and you'd obviously broke onto the scene at Charlton. But I want to take you right back to your youth career. Obviously you were Foyle Harps. Probably a Foyle Harps legend. I think everyone who played Foyle Harps, you probably really hated playing against you, especially defenders. How big an influence was Foyle Harps in your career as a youth player?
Like it was, as I say, I always say Foyle Harps gave me everything, you know what I mean? And if it wasn't for them, I would have never ever went to England, you know, right from Jerry Dock, who's still chairman, right down to every manager I played under, you know. And I was blessed playing there, you know. I played under like Harry McCord when I was a youngster, and you know, being a striker, Harry had a great career in Ireland, like, and playing under like him, you know, we learned so much craftiness and stuff like that there, which really stood me in good stead. And then my last couple of years of Foyle Harps, I played under John Shields, and Shields as well had a good career. And you know, the stuff you learned from them types of ex-players was brilliant. And even moving to England as well, they were still always there. You know, there was people you could have bounced off and asked questions and stuff like that there. And still to this day, you know, they still ask me stuff. And I'm actually working in Seagate now, where Shields is one of the managers in there. So I'm still thinking about him.
He probably feels like a pensioner now because he probably going up.
But as I say, some of the, like, as I say, it was a real family club, you know what I mean? And it was, everyone was there. They like really, they wanted you to push on. There was no jealousy, there was no nothing. Everyone was there for you. And like some of the players at Foyle Harps produced over the years is, you know, unbelievable for just being a youth club.
I remember sort of coming up at that time. You were 96, were you?
96,
97, not 96, 97. You Oxford and Foyle Harps were sort of the two big teams around, and loads of good players. Obviously, your brother Calvin was a top player too. But even with Foyle Harps, you went to college, didn't you, as well? For secondary school. How did you get on in terms of the college teams? Because obviously the college teams have been renowned for winning Northern Ireland Cups, and some of the players, like even some of the, if you go through there, everyone says about combined 11s. If you had a combined 11 together at the time, most of them were at the college. Players. So how did you get on there, and do you take any experiences away from there as well?
No, the college teams were brilliant. I remember when I was in first year, we were actually put out in the first round of the Northern Ireland Cup, and like no one could believe it. You know, it was the talent we had. So the next year or so, I played a year up with the likes of Aaron McInniff and boys that got there, and you know, like Ben McFadden, who played with Foyle Harps, Sean Mullen, and that, and you know, me, Sean, and Aaron went to England and stuff like that there, and the many internationals, and the team was just unbelievable. We didn't even win it that year too. But then when I got to third year, then that's when our team really like came to the fore. We more or less walked in Northern Ireland Cup, so we did, and then we went to Wales and won the UK Championship. You know, and I think it's only been done. It's been done once before, since by a college team, and but like we won it pretty comfortably. So we did. You know, we were just an unbelievable side. Like, you know, and playing with them types of lads, it was like Obviously it was great in school, like, getting out of school and stuff like that there and going playing football, but going, knowing you have a chance of winning that type of way. And we kind of always bounced off each other. I'm trying to think of other players, the likes of Rory Holden, that who's England. With some team, a really, really amazing team. Like,
I mind the one thing I always looked up at the college, and this is obviously just looking back now. You obviously didn't think of it at the time, but just looking back through the years at the college, as you say, bounced off each other. I was just about to say that the college teams, I always felt that they had a togetherness about them. The squad in general, I don't know if that was down to the coaches there or just the school itself. It always seemed like they were like best friends, and the team itself was really tight bunch group. And obviously, football's about relationships as well as ability. So I mind playing in St. Joe's teams and even watching St. Joe's. There was never that same, never really felt the same friend. I don't know what it was. But the college obviously been successful for a lot of the last sort of few years, winning all Grand Cups and stuff. But
it's probably a bit of arrogance, to be honest with you. Like, you were just sort of like, we're the college, that type of way, like, and you sort of went out with that. And I think everyone in Northern Ireland fears the college, and if you get drawn with them, you think, well, no.
You're going for a tough game.
And that was the thing, so it was always, we went out with that arrogance and confidence, like.
It's almost like the best teams as well attract the best players, and everybody that maybe want to go to the college and be in the football team and stuff. So it can be a mental thing as well. But obviously, you're moving through school. Well, obviously, anyone that's been reading your reports or listening to your podcast recently, you obviously didn't finish school because you got the move to Charlton. So when did the interest start to gather? And was there any other teams at the time interested in you, or was it just Charlton and you made that move? Or how did it all come to fruition?
So it was when I just would have turned 16, and that would have been that summer. I would have been when you would have started your scholarship. So like to Mikhail Martin and that went to England or went to Charlton then, and like everybody I played with in the Northern Ireland setup, like the under 17, they had all moved. The majority of them had moved to England, but I hadn't. So I was I finished with Foyle Harps, and I was like, either sign for Derry or don't. And I choose not to sign for Derry. So I got a trial in after the Milk Cup with Charlton, and I was meant to go to Sheffield United as well. And I think Celtic and that were kind of like, going to bring me over. But I went to Charlton anyway, and around October. They brought me back then in November. And then they offered me a contract then. It was a 1.5-year scholarship, so I did. So, but they more or less said to me, listen, you have to come in January. Because you're already behind that type of way. We need to get you updated. So I was left at the dilemma, and it was like, January, my GCSEs are in May. They'll drop out of school now and go to London, or they'll wait and finish my GCSEs and hope that Charlton are still there or someone else is there. And probably a bit naive, like, as a youngster, you're just thinking, I'm going to play football with GCSEs. I don't care about them. So like it was a no-brainer for me. Like I was gone the minute they offered me a contract. That was hit, like, so I moved over then that January at 16. So I did. So, but as I say, going over there, then it was like I realized how far I was actually behind. Because you're miles behind the English lads, like.
See, when the sort of talk came about, obviously there was, talk about it over here before you made the move. It was obviously big news at the time. As you say, Miho, him and St. Joe's, he was like the Willie shirt and stuff, and he obviously went over there. But obviously some of the lads after you, like Conor McDermott, Parkhouse, you're all before them. So as you say, Armagh and F, it wasn't that sort of, it wasn't a big thing that happened that often where a player from Derry got a big move. So it was obviously mainstream news here. But was there something about Charlton that jumped out to you, or was it just the fact that it was a football team interested in you and you just felt that you wanted to be a footballer so much, or was there something about Charlton?
But a bit of both, to be honest. Like, I obviously knew Charlton's history with producing players.
Yep.
And I was like, we just gathered, like, there was a serious pathway there. If you wanted it bad enough, they get on the first team football. And one of the first, our academy manager, Steve Avery, and like, he was absolutely fantastic. Like, and there was just a real warmth from there. It was a real family club, that type of way. And it was in London and stuff like that there, which London's it's a different. It sounds good, like, but it can be tough. But as I say, I was just like, what a lot of boys would have done back then is they would have went and trial with every team, and then, but anything can happen then, and that's what I was thinking. If I wait it out and go maybe Sheffield United, stuff like that, there, it's like, if I get injured.
I actually I watched your thing at Derry City under 17 team, and mind you saying to them, if you wish you had stayed and done your GCSE and then signed for Derry.
Aye.
But see if I sort of had a time machine now and took you back, do you not still think that sort of little boy inside of you was still in the same decision? Because as you say, 6 months down the line, you don't know what's going to happen. Once they say you didn't get an injury in them 6 months, once they say that Charlton were done threatening you, you missed your chance. So it's very easy for everyone to look at and go, oh, that boy there should have went and done his schoolwork. And personally, obviously, it's something you can look back on in hindsight. But for me, I'd have made the same decision you made if it was me.
That's what I mean. I don't regret making that decision, but like obviously, what I meant by that, the Derry City set up now in the academy since Paddy McCourt came on, it's a lot different than what it was. And it was like the Derry and District sort of set up then, so it was like it didn't really appeal to me. Like, and they just sort of signed everyone, and they weren't playing in a good league or nothing. Whereas now they play in the National League, all of Ireland. And I was in my Derry last year, and they had 5 or 6 under-17s training for a couple of weeks, during the summer, which was just fantastic. Like, getting them young boys in, and they were brilliant as well. So seeing that and seeing that they're getting them used to men's football at the age of 17, which is brilliant. Because when you do go into an academy, you don't really get that. You're under 18s, and then it's changed a couple of years ago from 21s to 23s, and but it's not, it doesn't prepare you for men's football.
Yeah, I see. Obviously, you're seeing now a sort of pathway of young footballers from Derry and other parts of Northern Ireland and other parts of Ireland as well. Obviously, getting more opportunities in England, and we seem to be producing more stars. Obviously, you have to have the ability. That's the first thing. But do you think that is down to the standard of the coaching improving? Better facilities, as you say, instead of a Derry and District, you've got National League, better opponents. Do you think if you were coming through now, you'd have a better chance of making it?
Oh, I definitely, 100%. Like, but I was probably the last sort of couple of years of Derry boys didn't really get opportunities, which we didn't, and but now that the standard of coaching has improved dramatically. Like, I remember training at Foyle Harps, and before I went to England, I was training for an hour a week on a Wednesday night. That was I'm playing a match in the National League on a Saturday, and then I'm going over to England, and the boys at 15 and 16, they get out of school 4 times a week, they train, so you can imagine how far, like, I'm coming from there, where I'm one of the better players, if you like, going over there. You know what I mean? I don't know what is it, but and you're just like, I'm not that player, I'm not. These boys are better than me, they're fitter than me, they're sharper than me, and it's like. But now, as I say, nowadays, because they've brought in the club A&I and stuff for the youngsters, and they're taking them away and stuff like that, they're getting them used to academy football, and they're getting them used to living away and stuff like that. And when in my year, it was you weren't prepared for that.
You get like these so much, right? I was over in Manchester in 2019 in Maiden City. I was over with Parky and Stamps. And they had their 2 teams over, and they went to Oldham Athletic for just a wee training night, because we were going to Man City and Spurs game on a Saturday. So obviously the purpose of shop's football too. But obviously there's a lot of fear. I don't know what it is. I think it can be something that happens in Derry too. When you go from maybe going to play a Belfast team, it's almost like them boys, they're all good players, but when they went to play the English team, it was sort of a fear factor. And then you see in the game, obviously there was difference in ability as well, but strength, fitness, as you say, all them things from training 4 times a week. Now the likes of Maiden City and our teams around Derry are training twice a week, 3 times a week. I know my boys at Maiden City, we train twice and have a match. If we don't have a match, we'll train 3 times a week. You say, I remember when I was your age as well, playing with different teams, Bosco's, Clonmore, TriStar, training once a week, and I could have been 30 at a session. And I might have been just wee matches and stuff, because they were limited in coaches as well. So obviously it hampered a lot of the players' ability, because you weren't getting coached properly, and it wasn't down to the coaches themselves, just down to how it was at the time. So, do you sort of, not that you're jealous, but do you sort of just wish it, do you sort of think that your time just came up too early and you wish you were sort of maybe a few years younger?
You can look at it like, my time was probably a bit early. I definitely would have been a better player if I had got the coaching now. But the thing is, I went and, I saw time pro and stuff like that there, but that was probably just kind of, my determination. But, we speak about strength and stuff like that there. Like, I remember going over to England, and my first training session was training with like Joe Gomez and boys like that. Joe Gomez's 16 was like built like an absolute animal, and I'm sitting there as wee skinny Irish boy, like trying to. And it was like, how do you compete with that?
I know exactly, I understand. But I mind at the time in Derry, you'd have been sort of a type of player that everyone would have said he's a big, strong fella. But the physique difference over there was incredible. As I said, when I was over there, maybe in City too, the amount of players they had, they were 13, 14, they looked 16, 17. So
definitely.
We're obviously behind in that regard to England, but I think we are starting to bridge the gap a bit. It's only take years and years and years. I think we're still well behind in terms of facilities.
Oh,
But,
easy.
but there is things there that I think we can build for the future. But obviously, you made a move at 16, right? As you say, moving to London, I've been to London for Spurs matches,
Mm.
more often defeats than not as well. It is quite a mad city. I mean, going there when I was young too, 13, 14 with my dad and stuff. So I can only imagine you going there at 16 on your own, getting trains, just people constantly bumping into you and stuff. And just if you ever go them undergrounds, it's just pure rough. Everybody in a rush. So I mind reading your news article about you saying about having to get a train every single day and stuff. So obviously there's a buzz when you get that move to Charlton. How long did that buzz last before reality kicked in of how tough it was going to be over there?
Probably the first day when we were took up the park they were running. That's when it was the end of January, it was snowing, and I were took up the park that he running, and I was like, well, jeepers, what have I signed up for? As I say, like, it was the scholarship's tough, you know, and it was really like our academy manager was Paul Hurt, who was really old school, and you know, you done long days, you run from 8 o'clock in the morning, you could be early 6 at night, you know, doing cleaning boots and cleaning the training ground, stuff like that there. So it was really, it wasn't being a professional footballer. It was just like being an apprentice, you know, as you would find on a building site or whatever.
Yeah.
So the novelty of it kind of wore off pretty quickly, you know, that type of way. And it was like, right, I'm here to work, you know, and that type of way. And as I say, I remember breaking down, physically breaking down. I mean, about 2 or 3 months into it, I remember going into the physio and I was just like drained, you know, just from the physicality of it, the training every day and stuff like that there. And I think they actually had to give me a couple of weeks to just rest and, you know, come round to myself, or I would have, but you know, had that physical breakdown like. So trying to get up to speed with the other lads was, as I say, it probably took me a year to actually get up to their, you know, I was naturally very fit, like, you know, in all the fitness sessions I would have been fit, but when it came to doing it day in, day out, it was really, really tough. You know, that side of it. So as I say, and obviously moving to London as well, it's a different world. You know what I mean? It's a completely different world. So you realise pretty quickly it's not there, and you can't walk down the street and say hello to someone like. So it was. I find that tough, like.
Everybody in Shane Palace or knows everybody too. It's one of them areas. But
Exactly.
I get it as well. So I know exactly what's it's from Craig and Ballymac and sort of with the same. Everyone knows family backgrounds and stuff. You see, you know nobody out there. But obviously,
No.
you just mentioned about fatigue. Just obviously something that comes out a lot about just general fans say about players. How can they be tired and they've all this lifestyle and stuff? So how much does it annoy you when people say about players needing rest and stuff, and you know people are uneducated and that sort of? I don't think people do that on purpose, but it's just they don't really the requirements, energy requirements that they need. So how much does it annoy you when people say stuff like that?
It's just, to be honest, I don't take no notice of it. Like, you know, no disrespect to fans, like, but some of them, you know, just they don't have a clue, like, you know, and the physicality side of it. It's, I know, but that's just being honest, you know. It is like the physicality side of it, like training every day, and it's not like it's wee light sessions, you know, it's high intensity sessions, like in gym sessions and stuff like that there. And you know, the sports science now say it takes 48 to 72 hours to actually recover from a game.
Yep.
And when you see in England over Christmas, you could be playing 3 or 4 games in a week. You know, you've no recovery time, that type of way. So like when it comes to resting and stuff like that there, it's you do get plenty of time to rest and that, but like it's just, you need time away from it as well. You need time just to generate it.
And obviously you've been on your own as well. It made it really, really difficult. But if you could just sort of give us a run through your day, right? Seeing you moved over there 16, what was it like? So you went to dinner in the morning, and then how, say, give me your 9 day sort of, you woke up in the morning, you went to bed, what it was like, so people sort of get an insight of what it was like. Because I think people sort of think, oh my God, he's a footballer. It must be so easy getting up to go to training and then having a sort of lifestyle. So you just sort of give people a run through your day.
So as a scholar, it was like, obviously you're a youngster, so they're preparing you that type of way. So it's tough days. So we would have been on about 8:30 in the morning, get your breakfast and that, and then you might have had a gym session in the morning. You would have had chores type things to do. So mine was always like, I would have to do the first team job. So it's going up to the manager every day, knocking on his door and asking him what he needs for training, you know, what equipment he needs. So it's going on doing all the equipment and then leaving it out for them, and then going training yourself, coming in, and then you would wait until the first team had their lunch, and then you would have yours, and then you might have a gym session, or you might have a player care session or something like that there in the afternoon, and then it could be 4 or 5 o'clock by the time you're showered and ready to go. And as an under 18 year, he would be dismissed, and we were all dismissed together. Now, it's character building, you know what I mean? So you probably get home at 5 or 6, and you're wrecked by then. Like, you just go back to your bed, ready for a new day. But when you sign pro, then you know what's the whole thing about it. It's preparing you. You know, you have to earn this pro contract. So when you sign pro, then it's just like you go on in the morning at 10, get your breakfast, train for an hour and a half, get your lunch, head home. You know, you could be home at 1. But if you want to stay behind, you might have gym sessions on specific days, stuff like that there. So you know, when you sign pro, it's completely.
Would have been more difficult. Obviously, for you, the scholar when you were younger was a lot more.
Oh, it was, as I say, like, you know, you hear all the old pros talking about their scholarships. You know, even you hear Paul Scholes and that class of '92 speaking about how tough it was for them. You know, but it's character building. Like, it's they make you, if you want this pro contract, then you have to go through all the nonsense that comes, you know, to get there. Like, so it was definitely good for me, and it made a man out of me. Like, you know, and I embraced it. Like, even though at times it was horrible, but I embraced it. You know, used it for, you know, it's going to be for a good reason. Like,
obviously, a lot of the lads over there would have been from the area or maybe around different parts of England. So did you find it difficult to integrate with them, or was it just they welcomed you as a teammate, or was it?
No, not necessarily. Like, you know, it was very. There was all wee cliques and groups that type of way, especially in our youth team. Like, but that was just the standard, you know. That's I was blessed because I had 3 other Irish lads in my youth team, so we sort of had our own wee clique that type of way. You know, but after a year and a half, they left, and it was just me. So I had to obviously come out of that group and then be like, right, I need to get involved here. Like, and I did, you know, after a while, like a couple of lads, you know, probably took me under the wing that type of way, and a couple of older lads, and realised I was good crack. So after a while, you know, it was a couple of nights out, realised he's one of us. So as I say, but like it was tough because at the end of training or stuff, or if you had the weekend off or something, then boys were going home to their families, or they're going and seeing their missus or stuff like that there, and I'm going back to the digs, you know, and it was just like
the digs. Did you stay with teammates, or were you on your own?
So there was 4 Irish lads, and then there was about 3 other English lads. It was a big £3 million house. You only seen the size of it, like, so that was for my first 2 years, like, so a big massive house, like, so it was just sort of us. We had our own wee. But then the English lads, they would come and go.
What was the kind of rules and stuff with it? Obviously, it's not you can go and have a party on a Friday night.
No, obviously no. So we were only 16 in that as well, so we were 17, so there was no partying. But we would have no.
You're probably seeing Snapchats, Instagrams of all your mates back home as well. So obviously you've got this move over, but you're thinking it's Friday night, Saturday night. These boys are out with the these boys out with their mates. You're stuck in an apartment.
Well, as I say, when I was 18, then, you know, I got my own place in that. Then I was pro, and I never drunk or nothing until I was 18. But like, you know, when you're seeing that, the St. Patrick's Days, the Christmases, the summer holidays, and like, you know, you don't have any of that, and that's a part people don't see. You know, they don't see the Christmas Day when you're not having a Christmas dinner and you're sitting, like, I only done it 2 years ago. You know, sitting on Christmas Day in a big house by myself. You know, I got chicken and rice and veg, and was training 5:30 on Christmas night. You know, by yourself. New Year's Eve, stuff like that. You don't get to celebrate it, you know what I mean? And it's them times are really tough, you know, especially seeing your muckers like out and about and doing stuff and enjoying themselves, and then you're like, what am I doing?
I can completely understand where you're home from. But obviously, you talked about being homesick and stuff from the start, and obviously homesickness is big because you're missing your family. You're only 16. I mean, going on like foreign holidays, my mates, and the whole thing was great at the time, but I mean, towards the end of the holiday, I just want to go home. Do you know what I mean? And that's just 2 weeks, and like a foreign holiday with your mates, you know, and I just go back, like, so I can sort of live a lot, and you're out there for months at a time. So, and then the other thing as well I want to speak about was obviously when you make this move, you obviously sacrificed a lot, but the pressure of it as well? Did you feel a lot of pressure to prove to your parents, prove to coaches at Foyle Harps, prove to your friends that you were going to make it? And did that impact you, or did you think at times that impacted you?
Oh, definitely. Like, you almost be doing it for other people, which is a very unhealthy place to be. You know what I mean? They're doing it for, and it happened to my brother. He came over and he only stayed for 6 months, and he was, and fair play to him, it was the most courageous decision, you know, for a youngster to do. And he just goes, it's not for me, and came home, and he got a lot of nonsense for it, you know, for coming home. But it was the right decision for him. But I knew, like, as I say, pressure for definitely putting that on a 16 or 17-year-old. Not saying that they did, but the internal pressure. Do you feel like, you know, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I've got a family to provide for, you know, 17, 18, like, I know I have to really do this. And, you know, you're almost living their dream as well, like, And when you're afraid to sort of say to your parents and stuff, I'm getting a rough here, like I'm not enjoying it and stuff like that there. So and then the pressure, of coming home in and you hear everyone being like, oh, you're living a dream, I wish I was you, all this here. You're like, you don't. If you only knew what it was like, you wouldn't. But you just sort of be like, no, it's great, it's great. You're lying half the time. Like.
About the Charlton Academy, right? Obviously, the hype around it as well. And how did people react when they found out that you were going to Charlton, and how did you deal with it? How did you sort of, obviously you can look back now, but did you sort of think you were privileged, or did you sort of think that you were better than everyone else? How did you see it at the time, and how did you deal with it yourself?
The way everyone sort of gave it to me was like, you deserve it. You've worked so hard for it. Yeah. So and when I know it did, like, I sacrificed and done more than anybody else would have done to get there, but it was like, did I feel privileged? I definitely, like, I felt so blessed, to actually get that opportunity. But it was almost like, right, I've got here now. Now I want more.
Yeah.
Instead of being happy and content and being like, I've just done something that 99% of people don't do. It's always like, no, I want more. I want more. I want more. When it almost comes to the point then where it's like, when is more enough?
Yeah.
And when you're in that mentality, it doesn't really, it's instilled in you, and from your youngster when you're playing football, like, not always you're only as good as your last game. You want more. Instead of actually being happy and content of what you've actually achieved, So for me, it was like, I was always humble, and I never really, and it was probably thanks to my parents, as I always stayed humble. Like, it was like, I never got big headed that type of way and been like, oh, look at me. It was always, no, right, I want more.
Would you got a lot of messages, people like from Derry, like obviously friends, but then people maybe weren't as close to you, but looking to be your friend? And
that's people, Derry people can get a bad name at times, saying they're jealous, they want to see you fall. See, every message I've probably ever received from Derry people has been nothing short of amazing. Like, people taking the time out of their day to message me and be like, well done, how you getting on? Oh, there's, as I say, Derry people they're a different kind of people. Like, they're just brilliant. Like, and as I say, I've always had nothing but well wishes and stuff like that there. So as I say, at 16, getting all that there from people you don't even know is amazing. Like,
well, obviously you're doing all this stuff when you're 16, and you obviously done quite well. Obviously, I can't look on these Charlton stats when you were 16, but when did you find out you were getting that professional contract? For when you were 18, when did you find it?
So the way it worked is because I signed a 2-year scholarship, so it meant when I should have signed pro, I was still a scholarship, but I was moved on the under-21 squad, which was all pros. So I got the I was like, right, I was doing it, like, I started scoring in that in the last year under 18s. We won the league, and things were I was finding my feet, that type of way. And as I say, I'd been there a year, so they obviously seen, like, I know he's starting to come out of his shell a wee bit here. So then next couple of months, so I had a 6-year contract from the start of the season to December, and I was like, right, I need to up my game here, like, and what am I going to do in January if they get let go of me? So I mean, when I say I was obsessed, I was like, every day off, I would have been in the training ground and the gym, getting bigger, doing stuff, asking questions, really, as I say, in football, being busy. But it worked. I was offered a contract. I was offered an extra 6 months to the end of the season, and by, I think, February or March, they had offered me a year because they seen how much it meant to me and how well I was actually playing. And so, as I say, that would have been Jason Newell and Steve Avery would have done that, and they were fantastic for me in my career. Obviously, going on that next season, then that I came home for summer, and again I was training like I'm possessed. I really was, like, I wasn't enjoying myself as well, like, but I was like, no, I really want this, and I made my debut then in that August when I went.
When did you finally settle in London? How long did it take? Was it maybe 6 months, a year and a half? How long did it take?
Probably a year and a half. Probably my second or third season, I could probably say I was probably settled down, and kind of after probably when my brother left, it was tough, like, seeing him struggling, and then you being, because I was in the under 21s, like, I never really had much contact with him on the training ground. So once he kind of went in, it was like, right, I could kind of relax then. And it was definitely, I knew I had the support from my parents and stuff, so I was like, right, I'm doing it for them now. Let's just get the head down and go for it. Like, so I definitely felt relaxed then. And obviously when I got out more and met the other lads was quite good. So it was obviously I was good at the Irish lads left, but you know, it was probably a blessing in disguise as well.
I see when you were obviously moving into the pro and stuff, did you like obviously you hear stuff like initiation songs and stuff? Thanks, did anyone like really do you up? And was there any like because you were just a young lad, was there anything that happened to you that obviously embarrassed you or anything like that there? Just any stories?
Ah, jeepers. Can't think. Well, I've done. What have I done? I've done about. I can't even count how many initiations I've done. My first one was the under-18s. The song "Fields of Bath and Rye." Proper Derry. I remember the manager coming to me and he was like, "Is that a Celtic song?" I was like, "You're right, it is." I've done quite a few of them. And my one with the first team, it was away at Cardiff and in the hotel at night, and I was like, it's the most nerve-wracking thing you can ever do, I swear, in your life. And the whole bus journey to Cardiff, I was like, I can't do this, and I thought they had forgot about it because I was with them, you know, for so long. I actually went to Belgium at pre-season with them, and I was like, please don't let any boys remember about this because I can't do it. But then I did do it then in Cardiff, and it was like horrible. They said to me, if you don't do it, it's a £500 fine. I said, well, I'll take a fine. I don't care. And I remember one of the lads, I think he was a vice captain. He just comes to me and goes, listen, go up there and make an idiot of yourself. He said, everyone will respect you more. If you take like a £500 fine, they're just going to think you're a so-and-so. And but to be fair, there was a couple of lads that actually did take a fine, and I was glad. See, when you get up there and you make an idiot of yourself, like people laugh then. Like, but as I say, embarrassing wise, like, I had probably a few group chat stories from nights out and stuff like that there, a few videos, but no, nothing too mad along the lines of embarrassing. Nothing.
What did it feel like to sign that first pro contract? What was the feeling around it? Did you feel like you had some sense of achievement? Obviously, because you sort of felt that you talk about gamble going over there. Did that first pro contract sort of feel like the first step to making it as a pro permanently?
Well, yeah, like, you know, the first, I still remember it, like, and you know, they could have put any contract down in front of me and I would have signed it, no problem at all, any way, just they wanted, like, and you know, signing your first one, you sort of like, especially the amount of messages I got and the well wishes and congratulations was amazing, and you kind of sit back in and be like, well, you know, I've just achieved everything I've ever wanted to do, and everything any Derry boys ever wanted to do, I've just done it. You know, and it was really, looking back, you know, it was amazing. Like, and I did enjoy it. Like, I was buzzing about it. But as I say, that mentality I had was like, right, I've got this contract, but time to get the next one. You know, so it's literally the next day you're like, right, I'm thinking about my next one.
As you first spoke about it there, but I had wrote it down as well. The sacrifices involved in that, like you say, Christmas time, there's football on, you're not seeing your family. Hot, like you say, not drinking and stuff like that there. And it's easy to sit and go, I'm a footballer, I don't drink. But when you see your mates, you probably think, geez, just one weekend out there and then go back to football. I think that one weekend can set you behind. And you see a lot of professional footballers now in the news and stuff where like sort of one bad night can destroy a career. I mean, watching Sunderland until I die. And stuff with Gibson, his contract time with it and stuff. So there's obviously a lot of responsibilities there as well. Did you feel that you had a lot of responsibilities in representing people from Derry and like your household?
No, definitely. Like, you know, because we were well respected in that, and you know, no one ever seen me as I felt without much and stuff like that there. So, but like, you need that release, you know. And I was kind of blessed that we were in London, like, so. You know, as a youngster, like, is there that many places to go? No,
if you had been in Liverpool,
but if you're somewhere else, like, you know, or if you had him in the Premiership, like, it's, you know, the fellas nowadays, they can't breathe without being on the news about something stupid. Like, this is young lads at 20, 21 going the night out, and they're in the papers. You know, who at 20 and 21 doesn't go out making an idiot of themselves and ends up full drunk? You know, it's standard. Like, you know, you would see it up at town every weekend. And you know. You do it as a footballer and you're seen as this bad person, he shouldn't be doing that. You know, the amount of nonsense you have to listen to Monday to Saturday, you know, and if you get bitten a Saturday, all these tweets and stuff, and then you go out and let your hair down, and it's like
obviously there's a lot of about sort of social media and hitting and stuff. There's obviously players getting bombarded with Instagram messages and stuff. Did anyone and were you ever like sort of verbally abused by fans, even your own fans in general? Any like after games, like getting Instagram messages from like you missed a couple of chances in the game? Did you receive any of that there at all?
I did, like, from all our players, like, obviously being Irish, like the amount of sectarian abuse I received would have been awful. You know, I was called a fiend everything, and a wee Irish wee pikey. There was actually a video released about it was leaked to the what was it, Daily Mirror or something, and of me, and I was in Ukraine at the time, and I was on FaceTime. The boys were out all day on the Sunday, the English lads, you know, my best friends, and you know, they were shouting and roaring Irish this, and I was calling them a lot worse, like, but you know, it was leaked then, it was sent on their WhatsApp group, and it was leaked a year and a half later. You know, and it was a whole uproar about it, and it was something stupid, like, you know, you would say amongst your friends, like, it just had got on the wrong hands, and someone who got released from Charlton leaked it, they make a few pound, like, and but there was a lot came off that type of way, and but for me, like, the Irish stuff, you get it, you know, and being in London as well, being an Irish fella, it's, you know, you're the odd man, right, that type of way, like, so that's, but I was thankful, you know, I took it my stride, like, you know, I don't really care, but tweets wise, like, you would have got, like, my dad would have read them more than I would have, you know, especially, you know, you could have played a reserves game or something, and some fan there, I don't know, he was useless today. My dad's like, who's this boy? He says, just don't read that nonsense. You know, because this is boys, like, you know, especially after a game on a Saturday and they're sitting in a bar with a few pints and they're feeling brave, and then they tweet you. And, you know, a couple of my close friends in Charlton actually got to the point where they had to delete Twitter and stuff like that there because the amount of abuse they were getting.
Way it's going to end up going with a lot of footballers, or else even clubs are going to specify in their contracts, look, you can't be up to any social media because the hassle around it, and it's quite sad that they can't, like as you say, maybe go on Twitter or go on Facebook. Is that wee bit of reality at times? They can go on and still, you know, social media, they're not out in public, and they can look at stuff from back home, look at friends, even like reading about a transfer news or something, just maybe anything, just to keep them going. And if they have to come away from that, that's going to make it even harder. But obviously, I want to talk about a lot of loans that you had. I think the first loan was with what do you call it?
VCD, yeah.
VCD, was it? VCD. The Athletic. And you scored on your debut. So obviously, you went out in loan before you got your first team. Who made that decision? Was that a club decision, or did you sort of go to the club that you wanted to go out in loan?
No, I didn't. It was a club just sort of said to me, said, listen, it's a fellow called Tony Russell. He was a manager, and he'll be watching this, so he will. The VCD were a local team, and they played in the Raymond, so it was just below conference, like, and I was only 18, like, still a wee fella, like, and the academy manager said to me, listen, I want you to go out and loan to this team, and I was like, no bother, let's go. And it was the best thing I ever done, you know, that first introduction to men's football, and you know how a first team actually runs and the crack and all this here, and what's expected of you, because in academy football it's like all about development and all this nonsense. The first team football is about getting 3 points.
You want to go and play.
Nothing else, you know. So you know, that first game and all, I'll never forget, it was brilliant. And I remember it was actually quite a funny story. After the game, I was there like a wee youngster, like we proper pro, and I made protein shake and all this here. I was on the phone to me after the match, walking out to the bus, drinking my protein shake and all, thinking, you know, I'll recover and all this here. My dad goes to me, I went to get on the bus, and there was no one there. The bus was locked, the busman wasn't even there. I was like, where is everybody? So I walked back in, and there was a bar in the stadium, the whole team in the bar. And I was like, cheaper. So I walked in, and the big striker goes to me, goes, what do you want to drink? I said, I can't be drinking here. Like, he's going to tell the manager if I'm drinking after the match. I said, well, just get me a JTO. And this big striker, he just looks down at me, he goes, I don't buy soft drinks. I was like, give me a pint of something. You know, but that was just like, you won and you celebrated, and it was amazing. Like, but when I had known at that age, so it was like a youth loan, so you would have played for that team on the Saturday. You would have trained with Charlton Monday to Friday. You would have played with them on a Saturday. Or you could have trained with them on a Thursday night, played with them on a Saturday. Then on a Sunday, you would either be off or you'd be in with the under 21s at Charlton, and then you'd play with the 21s on a Monday. So I was playing 2 games in 3 days, or a game on a Saturday, a game on a Monday for weeks.
And were you ever over on a Sunday?
What do you think?
Yeah,
I wasn't the only one. I always made sure I wasn't the only one.
I think it's that thing as well, where it is different to the football league and stuff, where you seen like after the FA Cup games, like some Marine there that played, you know, and they found they were playing Spurs and stuff. I can't mind that team was Chorley was singing the Adele song, and they were drunk and all and stuff. Obviously, that's the good thing about the sort of National League and stuff, and the non-league football is that it's maybe not as serious. And it's more than lads are playing for leisure. Obviously, especially the older lads. You say the captain, the big striker, he's probably in his 30s, was he? So he's obviously not going to be playing professional football at any time. Obviously, he's a young lad. You're there to get experience, so it was different for you. But obviously, the crack and stuff. And would you say that was your sort of best loan spell in terms of it shaped you as a person?
It was the most enjoyable because, like, you know, obviously being a youngster now, I was a lot quicker than them and stuff like that there. So they kind of relied on me. So going on the team and actually feeling really important and, you know, and really wanted was amazing. You know, I never really had that experience.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you score and everyone's just going mad, like, you know, but it really, that environment of we're here to win. It's as simple as that was really so good for me, you know, and it's what football's about, you know, and it's about winning and end the story, like the development stuff and all that there. Oh, you need a wee bit of it, but, you know, going out and getting 3 points, that's the goal at the end of the day, like. So it was brilliant for me. I loved it, like.
All right, August 2015, right? You obviously, I don't know what it was done at Charlton, but obviously I've seen some of the followings and stuff on TV where they maybe put up a sheet and he was on the match day squad. I'm not sure what it worked for you, but that first match day squad against Hull 2015, how did it come about? How did you find out and how did you feel at the time?
I went to Belgium in pre-season with the first team, so and I remember we played. I might have been St. Truden or something like that. There, it was a big enough Belgian team, and I came on at half time, and our manager at the time was Guy Luzon, who was an Israeli fellow, really top man, and you know, I remember my first touch of ball, I smashed the ball in the halfway line and won a corner out of it, and he just sort of turned around to the rest of the lads and was like, "I love him," you know, just that first. A first sort of time seeing me, and that's what I do. You know, managers love that type of stuff. So I was training away with him, and I was learning so much from training. Like some of the lads we had in that squad, like the experienced lads, and just being around them, you learn so much. And obviously, I getting called in on the bench against Hull, I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, you know, Hull, I think it might have been on Sky or something as well. I was like, this is brilliant. Like, a happy day. And I was more thinking back then, happy days. I'm getting some bonus for this year. Wow. And so I was absolutely delighted by it. And just being in that match day squad and, you know, learning how the older lads prepare and for games and stuff like that. I learned so much from it.
You see the match day itself when it came about. Obviously, you probably didn't sleep that much the night before. But that Saturday morning, obviously it was a home game, so I'm not sure what way it works. Did you meet before and then travel?
So we would have because I live like 10 minutes from the valley, so we would have met at about 11, and then you had your pre-match meal and that at the valley.
Yeah.
So you would have everything was sort of done there. There was TVs and all, like, so you had big comfy sofas, so you sit down and watch a 12:30 kick-off and then go down and get ready and stuff like that there. So you know, just really seeing how they prepared for games and stuff like that there was really, it helped me a lot. So that, but as I say, I probably didn't. I don't know if I slept a wink the night before. I know, because you're always thinking what's going to happen, even though I didn't play, like, but just being around it, I didn't care. Like, I really didn't care that I didn't play. Like,
at that time, did Charlton have like big? Obviously, they're a big club. Obviously, in the leagues, maybe. Well, what was the attendance like that day when you were warming up and stuff? Did you feel a big atmosphere inside the stadium?
I think it was the first. There must have been about 20,000 there. You know, obviously, I'd never really played under anything like that there. And going down to warm up, the first time you go down to warm up, everyone claps you, and you're just mad. Like, so it's brilliant. I think we won that day or something, or we drew, or we might have won actually. Nice. And when Hull were tipped to go up that year, so they were. So what a start! We had an unbelievable start that year. So we did, you know, I think we were in the top 4 for months, and then but I know we obviously went on to get relegated, but it was just an amazing experience. Like,
I see the one thing you talked about there was the food and stuff. I mind listening to Darren Bent there on Talk Sport. He was saying when he was Spurs, Juan de Ramos like banned salt and pepper, and like he changed the menu completely. Was there anything at Charlton where like the food was really bad, you know, in terms of because it was really healthy and stuff? Was it like you really didn't enjoy the food, or what was it like at Charlton? Was it different?
Well, my last couple of years we got a nutritionist in, and obviously I was the type of person that, you know, my metabolism wouldn't be as quick, so I would have to really watch what I eat, or you know, I'd put on weight easily. So but like some of the lads just could eat all day and not put on weight, you know. So our chef was brilliant. Adrian was our chef, and like he would have learnt me how to cook. He would always make me a dinner, you know, because I loved my own and that. He would say, "Here, take that dinner home, me," stuff like that. So if you had dietary needs that type of way, like we had quite a lot of fellas from Belgium and France, you know, were Muslim, so they could eat halal meat and stuff like that there. But the nutrition side of things has really come to the fore in this last couple of years, and I don't really. It's important, like, but you know, it's you can get too over
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a lot of lads going vegan and stuff like that there, and it's like, you know, they watch a Netflix documentary and they're put on, they like, oh, I need to go vegan, but it's
It's the only thing to do. Be vegan, popular, as you say, when trends start, it's almost like people do it just to fit in and stuff. And oh,
exactly.
I'm vegan too. You know what I mean? So I don't know why that is with people, but it's just the way the mind works. But
Uh,
League Cup, second round, Peterborough away. Would you say this was the highlight of your career in terms of
well,
like
it's the night that achieved everything I ever worked for. You know what I mean? And I remember training the next day, and or the day before, sorry, and they just sort of
don't skip that night to the next
no,
one.
no, I sorry, the day before we were doing, so the day before you'll just do like wee boxes, and then you'll do a bit of shape work, and the subs will go and do finishing, and he was, so he'll call out like the names he wants over to do shape, so you know that's a starting team, man. And, all I heard was Kennedy, and I didn't even think so. I walked over towards where the subs were, you know, was just thinking I'll be on the bench tomorrow night. So I get you over here, and I was like, no way am I starting tomorrow night, no way. And he was like, you're taking corners, no one's here, and I'd never took a corner before. Like I was always in the box trying to score. So
it was like a Harry Kane corner at the
so I actually stayed behind for about 20 minutes after training. The groundsman was going mad. He's all going, you get in. They practice corner shots. What I was more worried about making my debut, how I was going to take corner. Like I remember, you know, the fitness coach, the under 21s were playing that day. At the training ground, and I was staying behind to watch it. Like, so I would have been there to 3 or 4, and the fitness coach, he gave me a brilliant piece of advice. So he did, and it just came to me. I got showered, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to stay and watch this game." He goes, "No, you're not." I said, "You're making your debut tomorrow night. Get home and get a rest." He goes, and I was like, but I'm still part of 21. Like, I want to. He said, "Oh, I don't care." He said, "Get home." He said, "Oh, you're here for you." And it was an amazing piece of advice. You know, it really, you know, I felt bad for leaving, but I could understand what he meant by it then. You know, you have to be selfish, like, and obviously being able to ring home and be like, right, I'm starting tomorrow night. You know, it's, you know, my dad was, I think he was more nervous than I was, like, and it was really amazing, like, and the whole type of thing. You know, my agent was there, like, and that was just great. And you know, 2 minutes in, you're scoring.
See the fact that it was a quarter 8 kickoff at night. That made it a lot harder. That you had to wait the whole day. Were you nervous as anything?
I wasn't. I don't know. I wouldn't say I was like absolutely petrified. Like, you know, I was more excited than anything. I was excited at what could happen.
Right.
You know, and thankfully, like, in our team there was quite a lot of young lads. So
I mind at the time, quite a young Charlton team that played that game.
I think it was one of the youngest ever, and
I made a lot of news at the time against a very experienced Peterborough team.
Very experienced. So we knew we didn't really to lose that type of way. Like, so there was a couple ways we're making. I think me and Ollie Muldoon, we made our debuts that night, and he was on the bench, but I was starting obviously. Like, so I was more buzzing about the fact I'm actually, you know, going to play, you know, and stuff like that there. So I was like, just get through the warm up, don't get injured, like, don't mess this up, you know, that type of way.
I think the thing that you actually had it in the head, you didn't sort of feel like, oh my god, I'm playing now.
No.
You didn't like sort of go, again, be privileged. You sort of thought, I've earned this. I've earned my place in the team. I've earned this. And you say, I think he scored after 3 minutes.
I was right.
I mind seeing the highlights. Sky Sports at the time, it was everywhere, all the news. The whole thing, the young Charlton team. It was almost like a really sort of like a standalone moment. Obviously, that was at the pinnacle for you. And obviously, after that game, obviously you'd have rang home or whatever and said about the goal, and I think he set up one to you as an assist in the game.
I won a penalty. I shouldn't have missed an open net, so well, it was nearly an open net. But that's, you know, that's the way I kind of was in. It was like, I remember getting in the change room, and one of my feelers goes to me, I was in the shower, and he goes, go on the training ground tomorrow and go straight in the manager's office and tell him you want a new contract. And he goes, I'm telling you, go and do it. Because I did that play really well at night, and I was just kind of, it's getting that respect, you know, getting that respect from lads and being like, you know, oh, he is a good player, like, and he works hard and stuff like that there. And, you know, but my mentality, and like, obviously, you know, I spent the next day, I was good friends with Tony Watt, obviously at Celtic, you know, so what he done when he was 18 was like, you know, scoring against Barca. It was like, you know, I kind of relate to him, but, you know, it was good for me to humble myself as well and be like, right, I've done this here, but my mentality was like, I should have scored 2.
Obviously, you played against Blackburn and the league. That was your debut. You played 61 minutes already. Where were you at this time mentally? Did you feel like you were really hitting the ground then, and that was like sort of the only way was up? Is that how you felt at the time?
Well, that was you do feel like that, but you know, I was always wary. not to get too ahead of myself, you know, I remember the academy manager pulling me in after a couple of games, and he goes, "Listen," he goes, "you're not a first team player until you've played 50 games." And I was like, I know I'm not, you know, and I still stayed. I changed them with the under 21s and everything, you know. I never, even though I was training with first team every day, it was like, no, I know my place, that type of way. And thankfully, I always was like that. But you know, playing against Blackburn, you find out the Thursday, you know, if you're traveling on the Friday, and I was told I wasn't, so I was like, I'm grand, like, about that there. And obviously on the Friday, and the manager just goes to me, goes, "Go get your gear and meet us at Euston train station." And I was like, happy days, sitting on the bench tomorrow. Didn't say a word to me the whole night, the whole morning, and you know, just get in the stadium, and he puts a team sheet up, but obviously you go out and have a look at the match or the pitch and that. And it was Nick Pope, who's an good friend of mine at Burnley. He came out to me, so see the team sheet there. That's all now. He goes, "You're starting." I was like, what? All of a sudden, Ewood Park just gets a lot bigger than it actually was. So,
more famous football stadium as well.
Exactly, you know. So,
Blackburn as well. So,
but I speak about like experienced players. I remember, like, I was petrified then, you know, and that was probably when I was making my debut. It was like I had a whole night to process it. Now I know you can have a sleepless night and stuff like that there, but when you find out, lads are very different, you know, how they would take it. You know, find out right before was tough. I didn't have time to process it. It was just like get in, get changed, and I was nervous. But I remember doing the warm up. Usually, I always find, like, if I had a good warm up, I set me up for a good game. And I remember Alu Diarra, who I think won the World Cup with France. He was there. He played with us. What a fella! Like, the best pro I've ever met in my life, and the biggest gentleman. And he just came over to me, and I could tell I was petrified. I just put his two hands on my shoulder, and he goes, "I believe in you. We believe in you." And I was like, "This boy's won the World Cup, and he's telling me he believes in me. Like, how can I be nervous?" You know what I mean?
The only fairy tale that obviously come. It was I think he's got beat 3-0. It was quite a difficult game. You just not turn up at the day as a team, or with Blackburn. Just one of them days for Blackburn, which is brilliant. Where were Blackburn at the time? I can't think. Were they a team that were
Blackburn? They were pushing top six, so they were. Obviously the big Shane Duffy and Jordan Rhodes, he was a striker, and they were a really good side, like, but it was sort of, you know, we started so well that season, and then it was just sort of, we were sort of, but slowly you could see that we didn't have the squad, you know, and that was stuff that was happening off the pitch with the owner or stuff like that there. We didn't have the squad to see us through, that type of way, so that was sort of where the cracks started to appear then.
As well, the football club at the time wasn't, as you say, obviously on the pitch, these were short in terms of their squad, but the club itself was uncertain and stuff, and
the club was an absolute shambles. Like, it was, you know, never everyone can admit that. They used to say it was a circus. Like, some of the stuff that happened at Charlton was, you know, absolutely, you wouldn't believe it. Like, you know, especially with the likes around contracts and stuff like that. There, you know, I remember going to sign a 3 or 4 year deal. Me and my agent were in, and we went up to sign it, and like, I would have just signed it, like, no bother, like, not even looked at it. The footballer just looks at the back page, and he took a right through it, and he's all, "This is missing, this is missing, this is missing." I was like, you know, all the stuff that you agreed upon, and there was stuff then, there was some famous stuff that they stopped. So the owner stopped putting the money into the club, and they stopped the academy boys from taking bottles of water.
Right.
One of my bottles of water, you know. So they had to bring their own water. So I remember there was a big fans a cast or cat or something you call it, and they used to send them bottles of water for the academy players. You know, some of the stuff was embarrassing, and I actually felt really bad for Charlton fans, you know, because Charlton fans are really, you know, they're really, really good, but like, some of that stuff was a shambles. But the one thing you can say about him was the owner is we were paid every time or every month on time. I know, and a lot of clubs, if you've seen recently, that doesn't happen.
Big time. You've seen the hassle with Bolton and stuff there recently, but
exactly.
Honestly, you said about squad being short. You've seen the problem Sunderland had in that Netflix documentary where they had the squad. Then how that squad got relegated from the Championship was quite incredible. But a lot of stuff was happening off the pitch that led the performances on the pitch. So it is something that can happen. But obviously, you signed a new contract then in December 2015. So obviously, between September and December, did you play much first team football at all? Or?
I actually, I played a reserve match against Palace, so did, and I remember jumping and I wrecked my ankle. Like, I would always had an ankle injury every season, but I heard it, so I was out for about 6 to 8 weeks or something. I was out for, and the manager, Guy Luzon, got sacked. And the next fella they brought in, like, it was almost survival mode then. So he didn't want no inexperienced lad, no younger lads. So it was like, everything's looking so promising, and then a manager gets sacked and you're thrown back to the start again.
Yep.
So that injury kind of put me out of there. And a lot of the younger lads as well, we were all sort of shafted. So it turned my focus in to getting out on loan. And that's what I was focused. But I was happy enough, I'd signed a new deal. So I was like, I'm here for the next 24 years. So I was like, I'm here for the next good while anyway, so I don't have to rush anything, that type of way. So I was glad at where I was at, like.
So obviously, see between December 2015 and the move to Derry on loan, I think it was February 2017. How was that time at the club? Obviously there's a lot of change of managers, a lot of stuff was happening. How did it feel? Did you sort of feel unsettled as a player, and did the team itself feel unsettled?
I think everyone did. We were relegated and that, and players were just coming and going every season, like the amount of players, and there was a lot of lads were just there for a holiday, and it was kind of the core group of lads, they really felt it, because there was so much. We clicked so many groups and stuff like that. There we had a lot of foreigners and stuff. They were there for a holiday, basically. And I think it was only really when Karen Robinson came in and Lee Bowyer came in as assistant manager. That's when they kind of sort of steadied the ship, that type of way. Now the whole Derry loan move came about. I was training one day, and there was this fella watching. Times you would get agents that are up watching stuff like that there. I was called in the office the next day, or that day, and our owner had owned like 5 or 6 other clubs across Europe as well. And they said to me, there's a team in Germany that they were there watching you today, and they would like you to come over for a loan. The prospect of going on loan. I was like, listen, I'll just go over and have a look first, sure, and see what I think. So jumped on the plane the next day, and I was meant to go over for a week, and like it was, I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and it was just below Berlin and that, and I think they were top of the 3rd division or something. Really, they were a good side in that. Got a really good support and stuff like that there. So I was really tempted by it, and that's when I found out about Derry and a couple of other League Ireland teams as well. And
you and Derry were interested.
That's when
we just dying to get back to Derry at the time, and
I wasn't necessarily dying to get home. Like I've been a Derry fan my whole life. I've followed Derry up and down the country, and I was sort of, if my contract had been up that season, I would have never came home. But I think I had another 2 years or so, and I was like, right, it'll be good for me. It'll be really, really good. And Derry had a good side that year, so Kenny rang me and that, and I was like, right, I'll come back and see a crack. And the more I spoke to him, the more I liked what I heard. That type of way. So the fact of going to Germany for 6 months or going home for 6 months was like,
it would have been great to see your family and stuff. But before we touch on the family side of things, obviously you went down to Derry and stuff. And what was your relationship like with Kenny as time went on? And obviously you were competing with Nathan Boyle at the time, and he was he favoured him a lot. How difficult was it? Did you feel at times that even you were training hard and stuff was really happening for you, or how did it all sort of go for you?
When one of my first training sessions, the one thing I said to Kenny was like, I don't need to do a pre-season. Like, I'm 8 months into a season or so, I'm fit. I don't need to do it. All I need is a run of games. Like, I remember I actually had a wee tear in my hamstring doing fucking some mad runs over in Cluny Park. And I was like, I don't need to be doing this here. So I missed the first 2 games. Like, obviously Rory Patterson got injured and that, and I was thinking, right, it's going to be all about me here now. But playing with Nathan Boyle, like he was, I think he scored 2 that night against Bowes. Like, he was playing out of his skin. But we were 2 completely different players. I was more, I could get on it and play, whereas he was just in behind. And Kenny, what he sort of told me is, I want to play. I want to play football and stuff like that. That would suit me. So he finally gave me a chance against Cork. And the way I found it was like Cork were flying at that time on the top of the league and all. It was kind of like, just give me a chance. They never not going to win anyway. But I actually played really well, and he said to me in front of the lads, you're only lad who can take any credit away from that game. So I was like, fair play to you for that. And then as time went on, our relationship, like, I'm not saying I was the best pro or anything, because I kind of got, I wasn't enjoying it, and I wasn't playing well, I wasn't training well, and I wasn't getting an opportunity to actually, have a run of games. That's all I needed, was a run of games.
said was you had all this sort of, you had these experiences, Charlton. At this stage, you
uh,
just wanted to play. You really just
uh,
wanted to play.
I almost felt like I was being treated as one of the as I've came as I was like I was came through the Derry Academy.
Yeah.
You know, because of my age, I was only 21 or 22, and
Yeah.
that's the way I felt. And I was like, this isn't right. Like, and the boys I sit on the bench with, it was like Josh Daniels, who's just Shrewsbury now, Rory Holden, the boys that got there, and the boys that were starting ahead of them are nowhere now.
Yeah.
You know, we had so much talent, and he just wouldn't use it. Like, and I say all he needed was a run of games, but what was I saying there about? I almost felt like I was being treated like a kid, like, and you know that experience so much. I was quite experienced, like, so I just needed that run of games, and he never gave it to me.
I wasn't there obviously, but I can sort of. You were probably sold a dream where you were told you were going to play consistently, and you were going to get games, and then you get there and it's broken promises. So I'm not saying you wanted it to go that way, because obviously you're a Derry fan. You just wanted to get on the pitch, and the relationship with players, have the fans is incredible. You just want to go on the see. So do you feel because of how it was going, your relationship with Kenny was breaking down as the months went on?
Definitely, like, because there was a lot of hype and a lot of pressure that came, you know, with me signing, like, and you know, anyone I've ever spoke to since has just been like, you want to give him a chance, and I was like, oh. Like, me personally, like, I would have never been an exceptional trainer. Like, I would have my days, and you know, but getting out the pitch was where I could do what I could do, like, you know, and but you need that consistently, you know, run of games, playing every Friday night or whatever it is, just to get on the swing of things and get used to, lads. But it got to the point then, you know, around April or May, and to be fair, I was wrecked, like, physically, because I'd been going from the year before and had no break. I was shattered, and all the other lads were in England were away in summer holidays now, and I kind of threw the towel in. Then I was like, I don't care no more. I'll go back to Charlton. I don't care. I'm not busting my balls here for now. Like,
so where were you at? Where were you at this stage mentally as well, in terms of, obviously you were back home and stuff, but do you feel because of how your football career was going that your family life was suffering as well?
Probably was I a wee bit, like, you know, because
you were unhappy because you weren't playing.
I was raging, you know, and it really did have a massive effect on me. And always thought, you know, if I had family to go home to, you know, when I was in England, it would be a good release for me. But playing in Derry, it was actually a lot more pressure, you know, and you're coming home and everyone's asking what's anything happened today, anything happened today in training, and you're just like, you know, there was no getting away from it here. You know, which is the thing about Derry, you know, there is no getting away from it. Like, but not that I didn't mind, like, I don't know, but I know a footballer, especially, you know, the way I was, I know if I played shite, or I know if I wasn't doing it. I don't need you to tell me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing I was like. But as I say, you know, I when it comes to Kenny, I like him and I respect him. You know, I think he's done a lot in the game. You know, and as I say, but you see eye to eye with managers, and some you see eye to eye with, and others you don't, and that's just the way it goes.
Definitely, it's just down to relationships at times as well. You always feel loyal to the managers that give you a chance, even if you might not necessarily want them to start, but if they're giving you a chance, you're going to have a lot more loyalty to them.
But, like, you know, the big thing about that season as well, you know, obviously with Ryan passing away, like, that season was just, you know, it was a write-off, really. Like, it was
probably the worst time to come to Derry for you.
But I don't mean it like that there. It's just, you know, when I look back, and Derry, obviously it didn't really work out for me, but to be able to say it, I played in Ryan's last ever game. It made everything worthwhile, you know what I mean?
And I think the good thing as well, you're not making excuses. But when I looked at your career, and I looked over the last few days a lot closer, and it's not just you. There's a lot of footballers in the same situation, but you've had a lot of bad luck in terms of, it was going well at Charlton for you. They were having all these off-field troubles. Players were changing a lot. You broke onto the scene, and you didn't get that consistent run of games. You go into Derry, you were sold the dream you're going to play. You didn't get that consistent run. Nathan Boyle comes out of nowhere. He's playing on his skin. Things were going against you at times. So did you think at that time, after the year you had in sort of 2015, now 2017, did you sort of feel that things weren't going for you, or did you ever let it get you down, or did you just did you just want to keep working?
Like, as I say, I don't believe in luck and stuff like that there. Like, but obviously, you know, you need things to fall your way. But I would have always looked at it, right, before I point the fingers. Am I doing it? Am I doing enough? And if I was, then I'd be like, right, I have to just keep doing what I'm doing. If I wasn't, I'd be like, right, I need to do more. You know, so I always looked at myself before I blamed others, and that's the way I try and be. Was that right? Probably not, because, you know, it's a game of opinions at the end of the day, and some managers like you and some don't. That's as simple as that. You can do whatever you want, you know.
But hey, it was all bad. 2018, you got a new contract, right? So when I looked at this, I thought, you know what? He's not had loads and loads of chances at Charlton, but they obviously rid him as a player. They obviously rid him as a professional. So despite loans not really working out at their end stuff, and obviously they would have been keeping progress on loans, I'm sure, but they would have seen that you only made 9 appearances, didn't score a goal. So was there, like, did they have a chat with you about when you signed that contract, that they still believed in you, that
Well,
boosted you, or how did it come about?
They were very reluctant to let me to go to Derry, to be honest with you.
Right.
It was kind of me who forced it more than anything. And it's a simple fact, English teams don't think Irish football's anything, and that's the reality of the situation. And you can see that, nowadays as well, unless you're at the top, the big two in Ireland, like the standards, the English just look down on it, so they were very reluctant. But when I signed that contract, I was actually injured, I think.
Right.
So I just came in the last year of my contract, and I still wasn't back from injury because I had to have another surgery and that, which was a nightmare. And
So was this after your ACL injury? Was this after your ACL injury?
I think so. I think I was just coming back from it, I think, anyway. And
I see, before we get that going, take me back to that injury that day when it happened. Obviously an ACL injury, there's been a lot of coverage of it recently, Van Dijk and stuff, but it's obviously something very serious. And I don't think people understand that. I mean, Liverpool fans saying, "Oh, get Van Dijk back at the end of the season." And stuff. It's not an injury you can rush somebody back from. You can't really train. If you come back healthy, you could end up not walking again. It's that serious.
It's literally a day.
When that happened, sorry, Mikhail, that day, how did it feel? Did you know what it was at the time?
I had no clue. As I say, it was I got back from there and I wasn't right. Like, I had another tear in my hamstring just below the back of my knee, and I should have been out for 6 weeks, and I think I was out for 2 weeks, and I was back and rushed back, and it really stood me in bad stead for I came back to Charlton. I needed a break, so they gave me a couple of weeks to come around, and then the day before the first game of the season we were training, and as I say, the day before the first game of the season was just like training, or before any game. And I remember my mucker told me what he was leaving. He was going to Belgium, so I was with him the night before, and he gave me a couple of pairs of boots. He said, "I'll try him out there." And I tried them the next day, and it was amazing. The whole session, I just didn't feel at myself. I felt horrendous. Wearing these boots and that, and I said, "Just get through a session now." Right at the end of the session, just jumped up to control the ball and landed quite awkwardly. But like, obviously the pain straight away. I never felt the pain like it before, but any experience I've seen of an ACL injury, people are stretched off, gas and air. And I don't know if my pain tolerance is about higher than or most, or I just didn't really. I was probably more numb than anything. But I remember I fell on me and landed face down. I remember looking around and a few of the lads were like that there, and I was like, "Oh shit, what have I done here?" So the physio knew straight away that you can do an ACL test, and you know straight away. You will see them do it in TV and that, like. But he never told me. It was a Sunday, so I couldn't go for a scan until the next day and that. So that whole day I was in Google researching, all my symptoms and stuff like that there. So I thought it was, I didn't even know what my ACL was. So I thought it was my MCL, which was all right. I knew a couple of months probably. So I went on the next day and I seen the doctor and in the club, and I said, "Listen, just tell me what you think it is." Like, they done an ACL test, and I nearly went through the roof. And he just goes to me and said, "Honestly, I think it's your ACL, and if it is, you're going to be out for a year minimum, and you're going to need surgery." Well, hearing that there was just like, how do you even prepare for that? So I had to drive down to the private hospital and to get scanned, and I didn't even want to go on. I must have sat in the car for half an hour just being like, what? But as I say, it was awful. Like, you just at that point, you're just like, things are just sort of starting to pick up.
You would have knew as well from researching about ACL injuries. There's a highly likely chance you're not going to come back with the same player.
You only have to look. See, in football, the prime example is Benjamin Mendy at Man City. Remember when he signed for City, and he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he's still 3 years on, still not the same. And that's the type of injury. And people were shouting about Van Dijk and all that there. Thing about Van Dijk's 30. I'll be surprised if he's the same when he comes back. It's going to take him a long time, and I hate that. It's obviously it's horrible because what a player he is, but it's not it's 15, 20 years ago it was a career-ending injury.
Obviously, at this, when you're hearing all this, it's fresh in your mind. When did you start to suffer mentally? Was it right from that point, or was it just after, like, the treatment starting and the whole recovery?
It was more a couple of months into it. Like, it's basically grieving. If you look up a process of grieving, that's what it is. And so the first sort of stage of denial, like, and I never believed I was injured. I was like, oh, I'll be back. And I remember I actually said to the surgeon, because ACL injury is weird, for about 5 or 6 days, in my experience, like, was a horrible pain. And then the pain goes away and the swelling goes down and you feel all right. But your knee's just unstable.
Yeah.
So times I remember getting out of the car one day, my knee just buckled. And
Yeah.
it was pain for like 20 minutes. It was horrendous. But I remember I'm lying in a Cromwell hospital. It's actually the hospital George Best died in.
Right.
The surgeon came in to see me in the morning, and I go, listen, pal, I don't think I'm that bad. I feel grand. I was like, see if you open me up, just have a look. If it's not too bad, just show me back up and I'll be grand.
I'll get back on. Right?
He kind of laughed at me, like, but that was just the denial stage of it, like, and you're thinking a year's not a long time and stuff like that there, but reality had set in. I must have been about 2 months in or so, and I was like, I can't do this here. Like, I was in crutches and on knee brace for 6 weeks.
Were you home? Back home at the time? You still nothing?
No, I was in London. I was in London the whole time. Like, I actually was living on my own as well, so actually looking after myself and feeding myself and stuff like that there was a nightmare. And a week after my surgery, they thought my knee might have been infected, which is fucking life threatening, but it turned out it was only food poisoning. But like, I've never been as sick in my whole life, and obviously with food poisoning, you can't come into the club because it's so contagious. So I lay in my apartment.
About the Spurs story against West Ham, or they all went down in that last day. So
that's what I mean.
I like stories, but as you say, it's contagious and it can rip for you.
That's the thing about like flus, and a lot of things people don't know as well. Like, see if you're sick, and like you're not allowed to come into the club, but you have to ring a PFA and tell them that you're not going to be in case the drug testers come on that day and you're not there, but you'll be put down as a fail. So a lot of people don't know that, like.
So obviously you're in the rehab, right? And obviously coming out towards the end, right? So say, and we're skipping a year, but say when you're coming to the end of it and you're starting to feel better, and they're obviously giving you reports and stuff, like predicted comeback dates and stuff. So how did you feel at the time? Did you, as the months went on, did you feel you were ever going to play again, or were you just always striving like I'll get back at it, and then they were telling you when you were coming back and stuff?
Well, the plan was for the end of the season, going into pre-season, and to be fair, the physio was really good in that regard. They keep me. So what I told them I would do is, like, I would go home for 2 weeks, and I wouldn't go on holidays or nothing like that there. So the off season, I usually get 6 or 7 weeks off, and I only went home for, I think it might even have been 10 days or so.
Yep.
As I got come back over, and in the off season, a fitness coach has to be in every day. So my plan was to be in every day. Give myself 4 weeks to get properly ready for pre-season. My first day back, a Monday morning in the gym doing jumps, and there's a big crack in my knee, and I go, oh, here we go. So it turns out they didn't want to send me for a scan as soon as possible, because all the physios were away on holidays as well. So I had to wait for a couple of weeks, and it turned out there was a thing called, it's your meniscus anyway. So I tore that. I re-tore that, which is not a serious, but it put me back months. Yeah, so I kind of put me back to December then. So I was like, I got the point then. I was like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to play again.
And they give
but
you
obviously,
the contract though.
Eh?
And then after December, they give you the contract then, do they?
Because that's what I was out of contract then. So that's the thing. They don't have to do that, but obviously they've seen a lot done to me. When I got back training, I was training a lot with the first team, and I was absolutely flying. So I was, it was almost like a new signing. That's what a few of them were saying. In December, like, I just played 15 minutes my first game back, and the manager had me on the bench in the FA Cup on the Saturday. So I was thinking, they see something on me, and I was really working. I've never worked this hard in my life. Now that contract came about, the state of Charlton at that point was at a shambles, like, and the owner knew he was leaving, so there was no money getting put in. So I actually took a massive wage cut.
Right.
They signed that contract. I took a massive wage cut, and a lot of people didn't know that at the time, but I didn't care. I didn't really care. Like, I was just like, no, I need it. I'm happy. I love this, and so I took a big wage cut to stay there. And it was heartbreaking as well, because what they offered me, I was 23. I've been there since I was 16, and I gave everything. And you know what they offered me? They offered me the academy manager offered it, and I apologized when I offered it. He goes, but this is all I can do because of the owner. They offered me a 1 month rolling contract. So they had a 1 month rolling contract. So it was literally from January to the summer was a 1 month rolling contract, and I sort of was like, with the wage cut as well. I was really serious. And I just, like, me and him got on really well. He was really good to me, and he was like, he just said he was sorry. But it was always good, it could have done. But obviously, I went out on loan in that January. I was flying and
Yeah, so you went to Chelmsford, did you first?
Chelmsford, and it was fantastic. So it was really good for me. And I think I played a couple of games, and they go, no, there's a 6-month deal at the end of the season.
Right.
So which was brilliant.
Went to Concord Rangers then.
So that was sort of Concord. I got to the point, things were looking up at Charlton. I was flying on it, and I just sort of come February time in. Like, I actually had Derry got in contact to come back to them and that, and they were reluctant to let me because Bowyer was sort of saying good stuff about me, and we didn't know if we were going up or down, or we were pushing for promotion or not. If we hadn't went up, I probably would have still been there. But I kind of got to the point then. I was like, well, I need to prepare for next year, and I was raging. So I wasn't playing well. I got sent off my last game, and I just lost the head. Like, they were playing boys, ahead of me, first team lads. There was I sort of discovered there wasn't a lot of loyalty anymore, for what I had given to the club, and they're playing these boys who won't be here next year ahead of me, just to get them back fit that type of way. So for me, I just sort of went in and said, I need to get out of here and get out on loan. And Concord, there was Concord and another team, and one of the other Charlton lads were at Concord, so he recommended them highly, like, and apparently their striker just been injured, so they need a striker. I was like, I'll go there and I could start at one game or something. So it was just a nightmare. But by that point, I was done. Like, I just needed the season over.
Obviously, you touched on it there, and it's something that people might not realise, but you say no loyalty. Football is just like any other business, isn't it? When you're not producing, or if you say you're injured a lot, and you're of no real value to them, they're just going to sideline you, and then when your contract's up, they're just going to dump you, just like I said.
Exactly. And I've seen it happen so many times. And as I say, I'd been there from a 16-year-old, and I'd given sacrificed everything, and that's what.
You'd always going on, right, in terms of the 6 month. You got the 6 month contract. You knew it was coming to an end and stuff. And when did you sort of think that they weren't going to renew your contract again, or that you just needed a change? And how was your mental health at this time now? Because you had this injury, all these loans weren't the most successful as well. So how did you feel at the time then?
I think there was 20 lads let go that year. 20, and we didn't even. We didn't have a big squad, like, but there was no money. The owners had put no money in. So how did I feel? I was absolutely heartbroken and devastated, to be honest. Like, I remember going out of the training ground that last day to drive to Liverpool to go home, and I was like, where do I go from here? But I would say I was excited as well, because obviously there was a bit of interest for me and stuff like that there. And I really wanted to go to I was on training my Derry, and when I did come home, and Derry was brilliant with me to come on and get fit and that. And they were talking about signing, but I think they just signed a fellow from UCD, so they had no money. So, and I was like, well, what do you want to do? But I really wanted to go to the Irish League, and I spoke to Decky about that. I was like, I think it really benefit me, for a year, and it means I can do a pre-season and stuff like that there. So there was a couple of Irish League teams in for me and that, and I was training with Stuart, which I loved it. Like, John Quigg was brilliant as well for me, and a couple of days there was a couple of English teams and Scottish teams wanted me over for pre-season as well. Particularly Wickham wanted me over, so I was tempted to go over them in August, and then a couple of days before it happened, I was playing a match at Brandywell, and ACL went again.
And that was it. And then when that happens, did you know then that was it? There was no coming back?
Well, I remember. So obviously I was out of contract, so I had to go and get my own insurance and my own pay for me everything. So I went down to Ballykelly, and the first surgeon I seen, it just goes to me, "There's nothing I can do for you. If you'll never play football again." I was like, "What?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I don't do revisions and stuff like that. You're gonna have to go to someone else." And I was just like, "What?" Seriously. But thankfully the surgeon Daniel Acton, then he took me under his wing, and he was like, "We'll get you back," and stuff like that there. So he was brilliant with me. And but I kind of knew I was faced with the task to go on my Derry now for a year, not get paid, and do all the rehab and hopefully get back, or I suck it up and come in the real world and be like, right, I need to go and start working here. Because you can't live off your savings for the rest of your life and stuff like that there. You know, so I made the decision then. No, I would go on my dairy for a couple of months because the first few months of the post surgery are the most crucial. So I said, I'm going for a couple of months, but I'm going to get out now and start working and stuff like that there. And it's the best thing I've done. You know, was it just coming into the real world, you know, coming out of that environment and stuff like that there. It's been brilliant for me.
Obviously, all this going on, right? You obviously anyone that's, I mean, if I went for a trial tomorrow and I got told I wasn't good enough or whatever, I'd be heartbroken. So being a footballer, your contract's up, you're in riddled with injuries, you've just been told you're not going to kick a ball again. How did that feel? As you say, it might have been a stage where you were like, no way, I'll be back in denial. But when did it really hit home that it was going to be a different life and you had to do someone else?
When did it really hit home? Probably only recently, you know, this last few months has actually really hit home. You know, I struggled a lot, not struggled, but like I felt horrendous about myself this last few months, or last year. It just sort of hit me all of a sudden. I was like, I'm not a footballer anymore, you know. And it's so for that year and a half was probably a lot of denial and stuff like that there, and you know, always that bit of hope. But I finally got acceptance now that, you know, it's okay that I'm not going to be a footballer. There's more to me than playing football. But obviously at the time it was absolutely heartbreaking. And you know, I spoke about it before. Your whole identity, the whole thing people know you as.
See the Dairy Journal thing, right? And well, obviously I don't know you that well. I know you just from like a social level. If I seen you out in the town, I would say hello to you and you'd say hello back to me. But when I read that, I thought, what a brave person, strong person. They do that. I mean, people could take 10 years to do that. It took you less than a year to do it. And all of a sudden, you were already thinking, how can I help our people? The personality that you have and the character that you have. And I can only have, and you don't want to hear it, but a lot of people probably only have sympathy for you. And you don't want to get sympathy. But from what I can see, it's just a tremendous bad luck story. And as you say, it happens all over. It's not just you. But the one thing I can say about it is you've not let it. Obviously, you've had that. Everyone has a bit of a grieving time, but you've not let it get you down. You've even say, like, I mean, you probably laugh about it now, but like even writing a CV, 23, 24, you know what I mean? It takes a lot of, you know, to go and do that and not give up. It's easy just to roll in the corner and say, oh, I'm just going to suffer now for the next few years. You've obviously went down a different road. And I thought you spoke really well. You spoke about Gareth Morgan and the psychologist. How much credit do you think they deserve for helping you and stuff? Do you look up to them a lot?
Oh, definitely. They were fantastic for me. You know, it was just a safe space in a football club to go and talk to someone was absolutely amazing. You know, as I say, I probably used both of them as a counsellor without even realising. You know, because I didn't knew nothing about counselling, like, so they were absolutely fantastic with me, and I still keep in touch with them. You know, really, and giving you a safe space and you know, that male-dominated environment where everyone's a hard man was fantastic. But like, you know, I was always interested in counselling, and I came out of football then, and I was like, right, why don't you go and throw yourself into a course? Why not, you know, stop believing the lie that because you're a footballer you're stupid. You know, I believe that. I was like, why don't you go out and study something? So I find I do volunteer work for an orphans rehab centre, and I was speaking to them, and they told me how to go about it, and I went and done it, and I absolutely loved it. Like, you know, I've said all my work done, and you know, I love doing it, learning about myself. And as I say, you know, when it comes to helping others, it's like I just get a buzz out of it now, you know, a real buzz and a real sense of purpose and stuff like that there. And you know, it makes me feel better about myself that type of way. And I'm a firm believer in a problem shared is a problem half. You know,
at the time that obviously you were at home and stuff, and after when you were there and stuff, and did you find it difficult to be around family? Did you feel like you let them down, or did your family, like, obviously they've been very supportive, but did you sort of like push away at times and you always want to be on your own and stuff?
Definitely. Oh, you feel so embarrassed. Like, it's so embarrassing, like, especially for, you know, being around your family and that. It's, you know, heartbreaking. You're like, this one dream, and even though I achieved it, but like, you think you're going to be there forever, and it was like, shit, you know, like, we were all like, they more probably felt sorry for me, you know, but like, I was just trying to make sure they were all right, that type of way. But it was like, you know, it's the embarrassment of it and the shame. You're like, how many people do you hear about that? And they came home because they had to drink, or they came home to the missus and all. But for me, that wasn't the case. You know what I mean?
And I'm not saying you're this type of person, right? But it's very easy to be jealous of Alexa Rory Holden and Alexa McInnes all playing. But obviously, you're not that kind of person. You haven't got that kind of personality. But do you ever sort of just think, I wish I had maybe what they had at times? It's natural to sort of feel like that. Is that how you feel? Do you feel like you never really got a fair crack at the whip, and you just how do you sort of summarize?
No, because I don't look back and regret anything. You know, I don't look back and be like, oh, I wish this had happened. What's the point?
Yeah.
You know, I can't change it. You know what I mean? And also I can look back, and I can look back now and I can be proud of what I done.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to be anyone else or anything like that there. You know, what I done was a lot more than anybody else has ever done. You know, so I'm going to be proud of that there. And as I say, I'm always be that support now for the younger players, you know, coming through. That's what I want to do.
I honestly think you could write a book and people would be up to buy it, to be honest, because it's such a fascinating story. For, I mean, if you think of all we talked about, it's less than 10 years. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
It's a really special story, and it's way. It's the one thing I wanted to do as well. It wasn't just for you; it was for everyone that was associated with. Because I know you wanted to share it as well. It wasn't just about downs; you had so many ups as well. Obviously, when I was reading the story in the journal, it's quite good in terms of it opens people's eyes, but it was quite sad as well. So what I wanted to do was trying for you to get your positive spin on it. And I think it's really positive as well, and it'll give a different set of eyes for everyone for watching as well. But
because it wasn't all doom and gloom, you know. The highs far outweighed the lows, like, you know what I mean. That's the thing about it. But you know, it's important to highlight the lows as well.
Just before we sort of catch up with what you're doing now, but how did the lockdown? How did that sort of? Obviously, it's a very strange time for everyone, but did that have a positive impact on you or negative?
The first one I actually got out and worked. I worked the whole way through it, which was brilliant. I suppose I was kind of, you know, in football, you're kind of used to, you know, being locked up that type of way, so it wasn't really much as a surprise. But like this most recent one has been horrendous. Like, I've hated it because, you know, it's just, you can't get out and can't get the gyms and stuff like that there. You know, it's just it's been, and I've noticed so many people struggling, you know, that type of way. You know, the thing is, we need interactions and stuff like that there, and you know, I can understand why they think our lockdown's a good idea, but it's not. You know, and there's a mental health crisis. It's far outweighs the scare of COVID, and I don't want to do a big political march, like, but as I say, it needs addressed and it needs stopped.
The thing for you as well is that you have accepted now, you know, and you're not sort of thinking back, so which is good. And obviously now when I chat about, you're obviously working in Seagate and stuff, and you're studying to be a counsellor at the Tech. So what's your future plans? Like, obviously, what's the future hold for Mikhail Kennedy?
I couldn't tell you. As I say, I've just. What
would you like the future to be then?
Well, as I say, like at this present moment in time, you know, I'm doing something that, you know, I tried to do when I was a footballer, but I couldn't because of my contract. I'm in the process of buying my first home in that, you know, so that sort of took over me everything at the minute, and which is so exciting, you know, because I couldn't do it when I was a footballer because I never had a secure job. So for me at the minute, I'm loving the security, you know, having a secure job and knowing if I go and get hurt or something, I'm still going to have a job next year. So I'm loving that. I'm loving studying counselling. It's been a challenge to balance a work and education life, but it's been one that I'm trying to do. It's not easy, but like it's one I'm enjoying. It's a good challenge for me. You know, I need challenges that type of way. So looking for the future, obviously I would love to qualify in the next couple of years. Like, I'm not going to put time frames on it or anything like that there. I'd love to qualify as a counsellor, of course. And for Seagate, you know, I'm so blessed to have a job down there. It's a fantastic place to work in that. So I'm really enjoying it down there and going to, like, living a normal life, you know, that type of way.
Obviously, you do a bit of work. I've seen the Derry under 17 thing, right? Are you looking to get back involved in football with counselling, or is it just any type of counselling at all?
The thing about it, there's actually a chance I might play football again. I was on my Derry recently, and they think I'm only a couple of months away from playing, but you know, it doesn't really excite me anymore, the prospect of playing. It's, you know, if I do get back playing, it's just going to be for fun, and it's going to play, you know, for the bit of crack, like that type of way. And if I do move up a wee bit, happy days. But you know, I don't want to lose that security anymore. You know, because, and the thing about it, you can't make a living for yourself playing in Ireland unless you're one of the big two. You know, and that's
obviously as well. You've not really looked into coaching or physiotherapy. That's not interesting, or
no. As I say, I couldn't be a physio because I couldn't work with players. They're too needy nowadays. Like, so I couldn't work with them. But as I say, I'm doing some work for my agency. You know, so with young players and, you know, approaching younger players, you know, that need guidance and stuff like that there. So it's good. I just have a meeting with them after this year. So stuff like that there. You know, I know so much about football, so I don't want to lose that. You know, and as I say, I've got my coaching badges, I've got my level 2, so something down the line I'm going to go on and do my UEFA badges and that. But
I'm actually doing my UEFA badge at the minute. No, fascinating to stay in touch with the game of some sort.
Oh, for this,
I was thinking as well that maybe you're a bit traumatized by it all and you want to get away from football, but that's not the case.
That's not, and as I say, someone who's been brilliant for me in my career is Mo Mahan, who's a Derry City under-17 manager throughout my whole career. He's been amazing for me, so he is, and he wants me to come in and do a lot of work with him now with the under-17s, and learn. He's a fantastic coach, by the way, and he wants me to come in and do a bit of work with them now, so I'm all for that there, come in, and because of all this knowledge and experience, I may as well share it, I want to share it. I want young Derry lads, and obviously further afield as well, to progress,
You got to step away from the game, you know what I mean? And that's the game. You belong to the game, and you've that much knowledge and experience. The game would lose a great person if you does. Just before we move on to the Q&A, right? Because I know a lot of people they dying to hear stuff at the end. But see the coaches you worked away with at Derry, at Charlton, all them loan spells. Who was the most influential in your career? Who was the one that you really, really hold in high regard?
There's been a couple. Obviously Steve Avery and Jason Newell. Jason Newell, you remember him playing the Premiership and all them two were great for me. Steve was like a father figure, that type of thing. Jace was just the best of crack, most laid back man I've ever met in my life. And but what I could learn from him as a striker was amazing. Like what a player he was. The best probably type of manager was international level, definitely. Stephen Robson, who's just left Motherwell there recently. He was fantastic for me.
That number 21s,
No, he was. It was actually under 17 the last time, or under 17 or 19 the last time I worked with him. But I remember just before I went to England, all the boys we were training at Stevenage before I went to Estonia, and he gave me like a queer talking day of what I needed to do, and I went and done it, and by that March I was flying, and it was amazing for me, and really, really exceptional coach. And obviously Stephen Craigan as well. You'll probably see him in BT Sport and all. He was fantastic with me. We won the World Cup and all together, and really influential in my career.
Just before the last question I want to ask is, what would your advice be to young, not just footballers, but young sports people that have had a chance of making a professional, they have their first big opportunities at 16, 17, 18? What would your advice be to them? Don't
be a rabbit in the headlights and just jump on it. Sit down, think about it, take advice from people who care about you, and have a backup plan. Have a backup plan of, if this doesn't work out, what else? Now, I'm not saying don't work hard at, if it's football or whatever it is, but have something else, a release, have something else. So that's the best advice I
could give anyone. I'm gonna just get straight into it. I only think everyone that came forward with questions, I could only pick a few, and I think Mikhail's got a couple as well. But first question I want to ask is, what was the quality of coaching like in Charlton compared to maybe local clubs here in Derry? Did you find a massive difference when you went over there?
Oh, for their side, the difference was night and day. Like, so it was they were really, really exceptional coaches. I'm trying to think some of the lads. There's a couple there. There's actually a fellow there now, Anthony Hayes and that, and Adam Lawrence, who just went to Manchester United. Like, there's just their attention to detail, but obviously they're getting paid to do it. I'm not saying, no, of course not. They're getting paid to do it. It's their job. Like, but their attention to detail, their knowledge of the game, and the analysing the game and stuff like that there is just amazing. Like, so I learned a lot from the English coaches. Like, they were fantastic.
Is there any one thing that you remember from the academy team took your game to another level?
It's a good one. Took my game to probably just the other lads, really. We were all, as I say, my youth team was fantastic. So it was the players like, I'm trying to think, like Carlon Grant playing with West Brom now at the minute, and Adi Mola-Lukman, Joe Gomez. There would have fell Tariq Holmes Dennis. He just retired last year, unfortunately, because of his knee. But some of the, like, playing with them, you want to better. You can only better yourself every day playing with them types of lads. So as I say, there was never really one piece. The best advice I was ever given was like, from that, the academy manager said, you're not a first team player until you've played 50 or 100 games. And that just stood me in good stead. But humble, staying humble. Like.
Is there anything that a coach told you that you always remember, positive or negative? So something that was good about you, or maybe something that you need to fix up on, or anything that really.
As I say, negative wise would have probably, I remember, and I've only really realised that I remember a coach saying, never be content, never be happy with what you've done. And looking back now, I think that was wrong advice. Now, I can understand why he was giving it, because, in football, it's like you always want more, but in life, when does more become enough?
Yeah.
So it was negative, and for me in that regard, instead of being happy with what I actually achieved. Positive ways, I've had some inspirational managers talks and stuff like that there. But like, just see a manager telling you he believes in you, he believes in you and he trusts you and stuff like that there. And especially I refer to that conversation with Ali Diarra and just what he said to me, and it was just like,
did you like a manager maybe giving the arm and the shoulder treatment? Did you like that?
I did like that, but times I needed to kick up airs, times every player's different, and a good man manager would have, I think you could talk to him on a personal level.
Yeah.
It would come around and ask how's your family, how are you getting on, stuff like that there. That was a real class. Like, and I always mention Ali Davis. I think he's the best man ever, but this is a man that won the World Cup, and he would come in every morning and he would go round, and it didn't matter if you were an under 18 player or you were the groundsman or whatever, and he would shook everyone's hand and asked how they were. Just classy stuff like that there. And some managers would have done that. And for me, positive ways like that there would have been, connecting to someone on a human level was fantastic. Like, so that's what I thought. The arm around the shoulder definitely would have helped. Knowing you're doing a good job, getting the reassurance was always good for me.
You spoke about it quite well about, we're going to end this next question about winning. It meant a lot to you when you were, especially at that first club you were at, VCR or VCB. Sorry.
VCD, yeah.
So seeing like yours, like different coaching styles and tactics, do players in general, obviously you can speak on yourself, but obviously chatting to other players, do players really care as long as they're getting results? Do they care if it's attacking, defensive? As long as you're winning,
they do, because
they
do, because attackers want to attack and they don't want to defend, and it's as simple as that. You don't want to be, and you want to be lazy and just score goals. You don't want to be worried too much about defensive ways and running back and doing this here and that and there. But for me, I like the manager that was have attention to detail in the tactical sense, like where you would do the shape work, so you know your job. There's not worse playing somewhere and you don't know your job, and then you're getting dogs abuse during a match and you should be doing this and everything. But I think that's where fans have to be careful, because they don't see what the manager's asking. They don't see what the manager's asking them to do. So sometimes you see you'll hear fans say, he was useless today, but he done what the manager wanted him to do.
Yeah. Different clubs, only work with different managers. See, when like managers are getting sacked and stuff, do you sort of have a feeling that's happening? Do you sort of have a feeling where the players sort of give up? Like, obviously, you're not going to sit and lie and go, oh, I've never been on a team where they sort of want the manager out. But it's not that they want the manager out. When do they stop believing in the manager? What does it take for that manager to completely fall out of favour of the players?
I know, but you always hear stuff about lost the dressing room and stuff like that there. It's just an old football cliche, you know what I mean? Like, a manager knows when he's going, like, and he knows, when a manager's under pressure, but a manager, what a manager will say to the media and what he'll say in the change room is two completely different things.
Yeah.
That type of way. But you do have a good idea when he's gone. Like, it's just like who's going with him, that type of way. Or who's coming next.
Do you players feel responsible for that, or do you just have to get
on? Of course, 100%. Especially if you like them. We lost some good managers, and it's your fault at the end of the day, because a manager can only pick 11, and he can only set them up whatever way he feels is right. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the players are the ones going out and getting results. It's not the manager. So there's a big misconception with that there. It's the manager's fault. That's not.
Honestly, one that has come through as well was somebody was saying, obviously now when you're out and stuff in the town, do you still use the term you're a footballer? Do you have football years? Last year you possibly could have done, but I think any of the stories out there.
Well, I didn't get no Valentine's Day cards or presents, so that's your answer.
That's your answer. Funny way, I sort of something maybe that you could sort of say yourself. But what would Mikhail now, 2021, say Mikhail that moved to London and sort of 2013? What would you change how you did it, or would you probably go the same way again?
I have no change. I wouldn't change anything, and I wouldn't regret anything. I wouldn't even change the fact of being injured for how long it was, because what I learned through my injury was something you would take years and life experience to learn. So the only thing I would tell myself would be to enjoy it more, and love every minute that I played football, because I didn't, especially during the tough times, like I didn't. But I would definitely say enjoy every single minute, because it's a very short career. In my case, you know, so enjoy it.
Mikhail, I absolutely was done, man. I really
No
enjoyed it.
problem.
I think everyone that's watched would have really enjoyed it. I've never seen so far. I've watched some of your stuff. It was great to get an insight to your career. Anyone that's watching, so young footballers going to be like, obviously they'll be wary of what's happened to you, but they'll be positive as well with the stories and stuff and the experiences that you've had. I'm really jealous of what, even though you've had these injuries. But hey, Mikhail, really enjoyed it, and you're welcome
No
back
bother.
on the show.
Anytime you need me, just give me a shout.
Really, thanks for coming on.
No
Mikhail.
bother. Thanks for listening, boys.
Good luck, hey, best of luck.
All right, no bother. Cheers.